So, I heard you're looking for a go-to source for entertainment.
Wait for it.
Gaming?
Wait for it.
Anime?
Plus Ultra!
Mr. Eric Almighty and Phil the Filipino? Yeah, they've got you covered. And all you gotta do is... wait for it. This is the Wait For It podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Wait For It podcast. I am your co-host, Phil Smith, aka Phil the Filipino, and joining us as always is your other co-host, Mr. Eric Almighty. And Eric, we are here with a very, very long-awaited episode of the Game Room Where It Happens. It is so funny how this year has gone. When we did the fantasy draft with Friendly Neighborhood Gamers back in January, we were like, man, what are we going to play this year? Like, is it just going to be a lot of Fortnite and not a lot else? And then here we are. We're recording this on the evening of March 16th. And we not only have a plethora of games to play, we do not have time to play those games that we have played. And I have also gone back to some other games because I now have a gaming PC that I'm now modding, so that's taking up even more time. But, Eric, there has been one game that has taken the world by storm, and I think even more so than Pal World, as that has kind of started to fall off a little bit. This game continues to pick up steam, and for good reason, as it continues to attract in and draw in new players by the week, I would probably say. And I am so excited to talk about Helldivers. This is a game that it really came out of nowhere. Literally came out of nowhere. Like, I know it came up in the fantasy draft, but like we didn't know really anything about it. Not only that, it's a sequel, and it's nothing like the original. So between all that, Eric, this is going to be a really fun conversation because we have a lot to talk about. And even though this has been covered by, everybody on the internet as far as content creators, I think we're going to have a lot to add to this conversation because, again, we are just having so much fun with the game.
It should be noted, too, that we had a lot of high hopes that we would be playing Pal World a lot throughout the remainder of the year. Don't know about you. Have not touched it. Just going to be honest.
No, I have not either. I haven't
Got to take the L. We like to be transparent here on the show. Sorry about that. But we definitely are going to be playing this, Phil, for the foreseeable future. It's crazy. I haven't even thought about Fortnite. It's not my first go-to. I think about Helldivers 2. Absolutely the surprise hit of the year. And Phil, I think unlike with Pal World, we kind of felt we were getting in by the time we recorded that episode. We were getting in towards the end of the hype. Helldivers, I think, is still strong and steady and continuing to grow the hype. So I don't really feel, pun intended, late to the party for this game. I don't really feel that way about Helldivers 2 this time.
Yeah, as it continues to make rounds, it is such an easily memeable game as well, and so is Pal World. But obviously, this is something totally different between the gameplay loop and the difficulty and the how much fun it is to play with your friends. All of that, we're going to get into everything here in just a moment. So we want to welcome in any brand new and returning listeners to the Wait For It podcast. This is our monthly recurring series, The Game Room Where It Happens, in which we will discuss games either that make us very nostalgic, or in this case, games that are taking the world by storm and that we have logged quite a bit of time into. And of course, as you can see there in the title, we will be talking about Helldivers 2. And if you want to know where you can find the rest of the Game Room Where It Happens episodes, make sure you stick around to the very end, and we'll let you know where you can find all the rest of our content, as well as some very important social media information. But Eric, with that being said, let's just jump right into this because there is so much to discuss here. And Helldivers 2, again, sequel to a game that is nothing like it. The original game is actually a top-down shooter, whereas Helldivers 2 is a third-person shooter. Similar to the first game, players are able to select stratagems, airdrops players can call during missions, which include things such as cluster bombs, sentry guns, shield gens, supply pods containing limited use special weaponry. The story of the game follows the elite forces of the Helldivers battling to win an intergalactic struggle to rid the galaxy of rising alien threats. And again, this game was not on our radar. I think we started seeing videos for it probably the week of release, actually, because all of a sudden this game, hit social media like a storm, and we were seeing this absolutely insane gameplay. Like, one of the things that I really enjoy, even though like I don't pay attention to the story, like playing Far Cry with Jordan was a lot of fun because it had a lot of batshit crazy explosions and moments and stuff like that. And Helldivers like knew immediately how to draw people in. And I think a lot of people, I mean, leading up to this, I know people were kind of concerned about the games as a service model, right? Like we've talked about that, Sea of Thieves, Suicide Squad, stuff that just has not gone well. But this game took it a whole different direction. So Eric, take us through the beginning days, because I sent us the video. I was like, hey, we might want to check this out. It's only a $40 game. It looks like a lot of fun. How are we feeling? Take us through like the early days of Helldivers when we were just like feeling it out.
So it was hard to really imagine what was going to happen, because you see all the gameplay clips, and let's be honest, like, there's not too much that's being reinvented here as far as the combat. We'll talk about the stratagems. I think that's an interesting layer to all of this that we didn't expect. So to just throw that out off the bat, that kind of took me by surprise. But Phil, again, this is such a community-driven game. I know my experience has been a little bit different than yours, but I wanted to play this game with friends. And this isn't an experience that you're used to. I want to play this game with anyone, not just my friends. So, Phil, one of the things that happened early on, if there was a night you couldn't get on, I found myself just queuing up and just jumping into a lobby. What was the last game that we played that we were jumping into lobbies? There was games where I jumped on the mic with the randoms and was like, hey, that was fucking great. I just wanted to let y'all know that. And then we played another game together. Like, what game has done that to us? I can't name it off the top of my head. And Phil, early on, you could tell it didn't have to reinvent too much. Again, it's a service model. The combat is not revolutionary, but everything is so fine-tuned and at the end of the day, fun and challenging. These are all the things you want in a game, and you get to do it with other people. I think immediately that's what set it apart from other experiences I've had. I'd say in the first 5 hours of gameplay, I was hooked. I said, I'm going to play this game for the rest of the year. And that doesn't happen often.
Yeah, I don't know who this person is that is jumping into lobbies with strangers to play a video game. Again, 2024 has been very strange, and it's only been 3 months. Unlike Eric, I have no desire to play with other people. So that's even I just am past that time. The only thing that's comparable, Eric, would probably be like our Halo 3, Halo Reach, Modern Warfare days. And that wasn't to talk to people. That was to shit talk with people. But again, here, this is such a community-driven thing, to steal what you had just said. And, you're working together with people to accomplish a goal. Now, listen, we've been very fortunate. Well, I don't know if you've come across anybody that, there's always the thing where it's like you're not using the meta, you're not using the right loadout, the right weapons, all of that shit. There's going to be that. Unfortunately, there's going to be those types of players with any game. This is not a Helldivers 2 problem. It is just a gaming problem in terms of trying to police people into playing the right way, right? Which is just total bullshit. If you're having a good time, then I don't necessarily think that should really apply. But, right, we send out these games, like we send out suggestions to people that will typically, join us in this game. So we've been playing it with your brother. We've been playing it with another friend of ours. When he gets on, he'll never listen to this episode, so it doesn't matter. But it is a lot of fun when you're able to jump in there. And again, it's just so easy to jump in, run a few missions, and then hop off, and then again, rinse, wash, repeat. There's enough variety between the different missions as well. There's some that take 10 to 15 minutes. There's some that can take you upwards of an hour. And that 40 minutes goes by so fast. Like, the only thing I could really compare it to is like probably one full Fortnite game loop takes like half an hour. We don't really realize it, maybe 20, 25 minutes, but like to run through that in like a 40-minute, I mean, very early on when we played was the four of us, you, me, your brother, and then our other friend. And we played through that mission where we figured we were totally screwed. And then getting out of that situation successfully is incredibly rewarding. It really does bring you back to the time. Even though you're not playing against other people, you are racing against the clock. You're racing against a very, very smart AI. That becomes incredibly rewarding. And it's not necessarily that like I want to get rewards for, because there is a free battle pass, but like that stuff is cool. Like getting extra weapons is cool, but really like what I want to do is like get more stratagems, level up. I'm not necessarily focused on getting like, skins or anything like that. I want to get to a level in which I know that I am helping my team. That's the main primary focus, whereas other games where we played, whether it be Call of Duty, whether it be Halo, whether it be Fortnite, we're just like, oh, I want to get this skin, or I want to get this cosmetic item that really has no bearing on the game whatsoever. And yeah, there are cool armors in Helldivers, but that's not my primary focus. And honestly, it's super refreshing to play that way.
It is. And there are some advantages to some of those armors. Like, it's not all just cosmetic, which is, again, how you want to play it, right? And I think, you mentioned the meta thing. I experienced getting kicked out of some lobbies, but then you easily find another one. This game, at one point, and I'm sure this number's grown, at one point, we're like on almost 500,000 players at a given time. There was definitely those times where that has happened. And Phil, the reason it's so community-based, and I think that's the reason it is so popular, is because there are these objectives that you have to do as an entire community. So, for example, if you haven't played the game, and this is your first time hearing it, there will be mission orders where you have to go defend a planet or invade a planet. And Phil, we talk about that early indicator. You really feel like you are out there in the galaxy. Like, there are unexplored planets. There are planets we are nowhere close to. We are in Super Earth, but we are well far away fighting for democracy. And you kind of get lost in it. You get lost in all of the worlds that are nearby. What is the liberation percentage? What is the mission order? What are we being told we have to do? And then they enhanced it with things, Phil, like Joel, who, if you don't know who Joel is, essentially this game now has a game master that is kind of puppeteering everything. And it's like the insider thing for Helldivers. We all hate but love Joel. We want him to continue to do good work. Now we got things like mechs. So, like, again, getting ahead of myself, Phil, this game went from just a very great first impression to a month later, we're recording this episode, it's enhancing the gameplay. It's making changes, adjustments, and more importantly, improvements. And I think that's what we were missing from Pal World, because ultimately, if I jump back into it, it probably is the same game I started. With Helldivers, I don't exactly feel that way.
Yeah, and remember the early days of Helldivers, like we would just sit in a queue and wait to try and get in. We don't have that issue at all anymore. And could that happen down the road because that's just the life cycle of an always online game? Sure, it could possibly happen, but we haven't seen it since then, so that's been great. And like you said, adding things such as mechs and doing special events, like those are things that are going to keep the community coming back. And the fact that, again, the numbers I'm sure they've dipped a little bit, but they've stayed relatively steady. The reviews are still very solid. There haven't necessarily been anything that have, sometimes something will pop up in a game's life cycle in terms of development or the people that are in charge. And nothing like that has come up so far. I mean, knock on wood. Hopefully that still remains the case. But like, again, thinking about these couple of games, we're going to be referencing these two games all year when we talk about Skull and Bones and the Suicide Squad. Since then we've heard about crunch and just absolute development hell and all this stuff. And Helldivers 2, even when the CEO, I'm not sure if the CEO or not, came out and said, hey, don't buy the game until we have these servers fixed. That's unheard of. Like, you just do not hear things like that. It also helps that it's a very digestible $40 price point. You know, this isn't a $70 game. I think maybe there would have been a little bit more of a backlash in terms of servers if, you know, if it's a full-priced $70, $80 game, maybe you see that. Star Wars Battlefront, right? You were excited about that. Launched with lunchbox servers, and nobody can play it online. Like, I don't know what the hell is happening. So, for, again, a game that certainly wasn't on our radar and certainly wasn't on a lot of people's radar, for them to come out of the gate, be very forthcoming with their player base, and continuing to improve the game, like, you love it. Eric, you talked about it in Pal World. This is, even though we're not playing Pal World right now, you know, that's fine. We're seeing a little bit of a kind of a, I don't want to say, like, revolution is like a really strong word, but like, we're seeing a little bit of a turn here where players are finally, where developers are listening to players like, hey, this is what we want, not this. And that's good. That's good for all of us.
This reminds me of very early on in the Halo community days. And again, Halo as a community now, atrocious. Absolutely
mad.
Atrocious.
Really
mad, angry.
And they deserve to be. And they, yeah.
As they should be, right? And it's unfortunate that Xbox is missing out on this Halo-like resurgence, revolution, whatever word you want to call it, right? Absolutely sucks that Xbox is missing out on this, right? So this, though, felt a lot like that. And it comes down to little things like the music. Whenever you drop down as a Helldiver, Phil, I have dropped now hundreds of times onto planets, and the music that plays when the pods are coming down to the planet with the different backgrounds in the distance has not gotten old, will not get old, and I would argue it's gonna be iconic. It's absolutely gonna be iconic. It's iconic enough that people have stitched the Irwin Attack on Titan speech to the music. One of the most motivating, epic things I've ever heard / watched in my life. So again, this really reminds me for those reasons, right? Not just the fun, quick, timey gameplay, the community building, the music, the memeability, all of those elements just feel very Halo-like to me. And again, I think when we look back on this, Phil, to your point, revolution really isn't that strong of a word, because I think it could have that impact.
I'm very surprised, and maybe because since the game has only been out for like a month and a half or so, I'm surprised we haven't seen a lot of cosplay for this. I think when it comes to like summer conventions, we're going to see a lot of Helldivers cosplay. It's also incredibly funny. We haven't even talked about that, like the voice acting. I'm pretty sure Yuri Lowenthal has been involved in this. I believe he told us about that on social media, but it's incredibly funny. I mean, just between the little quips, the opening video itself ropes you in with that humor. And it's like, God, even the tutorial is funny. Like, it's good, and it's not like trying too hard funny. Like, again, Suicide Squad. Sorry. But it's effortlessly funny. I mean, it's again, like you said, like we said, as far as like the memeing goes, like there's so many. When I sent you the one yesterday of the J.K. Simmons one, it's like, get the fuck away from me before I destroy you. I was like, I am so mad we didn't think of that before that person did, because that's so good. Yeah, and you know, there are definitely some things I think they could do to improve the game and things we want to see, and we'll get to that here in just a moment. But again, it is such a simple gameplay, even though the difficulty, like when it gets really difficult, it is, man, it will kick the crap out of you, and it seems to have maybe gotten harder after a recent update, which I think is hilarious. It's funny,
it's
with
hard
like,
out here. It's hard out here.
It is. It's hard out here in Super Earth, man. It's funny because like we had 4 people for Back for Blood, and we couldn't get through that just because like the gameplay was not fun. It did not get fun. It was difficult to a point of no longer being enjoyable. And listen, like there's no when you can't call back in your teammates, you know, in Back for Blood the way that you can in Helldivers. You know, we're essentially recycling. Like, we haven't even thought about just the thousands of Helldivers we've recycled through, never to be seen again. We're like, bring in the next one. But it's funny, a game in Back for Blood that was intentionally difficult, we did not have fun with. Whereas this, you can convince me to play the harder modes because, one, it's more rewarding and you get more out of it. But two, it's just so much fun. So again, with some of these games that have come and gone with like similar styles, the fact that this one is sticking around, honestly, again, certainly the early surprise and barring something crazy like early game of the year candidate for sure. I'm not sure. Like, obviously, there's going to be like the Final Fantasies and the single player games, but like for us that get on multiple times a week, this may be it, man. This may be it.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. I definitely want to recount in the Fantasy Critic draft that you mentioned with your friendly neighborhood gamers, because this game scored like an 82 on launch, and I think that's crazy. Now, mind you,
I think it does have an 82 on Metacritic as I checked that. OpenCritic. It has a 90 OpenCritic rating now, so that should have been.
I feel like it should be a rescore. And I don't know if that had to do with server issues, but Phil, this game, like, no one expected it. Even the developers didn't expect it to gain this popularity. Phil, this game I mentioned in that draft was like one I heard about through the grapevine. Like, I kind of was hearing some stuff. I heard people like the first one, but this one was going to be a little different. Man, could not have seen that coming. Nobody I was in the circle of was talking about this game. And just a wonderful surprise. You know, very much in a very much different game, like Baldur's Gate 3 coming out of nowhere last year. Obviously, a much bigger, grander, and developing-wise larger game. But this is very similar in that same taste, where I think when we look at the end of the year, absolutely one of the surprise hits. Should it be in Game of the Year contender? I think so. I definitely do think so. But it has a lot more to do to get there for sure. And, you know, it's not a perfect game, Phil, but it's a lot of fun. So I kind of want to talk about the combat when we actually make it down to the planet. And I want to get your thoughts about how you feel kind of navigating through it, from the mechanics to the stratagems I'd like to circle back to, because that's definitely an important element. How have you adapted to it? Because I'm going to be honest, Fortnite brain, just simple tasks. This is a lot more than that. So I'm curious, how are you holding up? How did it start? How have you transitioned?
Well, there are so many differences when you're playing this. There are so many things you need to take into account. You know, specific. I mean, right off the bat, the reload. Right, you have to manage your ammo and manage those resupplies when you can. That definitely was something we very much took for granted in the lower difficulties, and then now it's like you can't even get those stratagems off. To jump a little bit ahead when we're talking about those stratagems, but you really do have to rewire your brain. And I think that's what makes another thing that makes the game incredibly rewarding. Like, you can't just jump in, shoot your gun, reload, whatever, and there be no consequences, right? I don't know that we've ever played a game where if you reload too early, like, you just lose out on all of that ammo. I can't think of anything that we've ever come across that's like that. So, you definitely can't treat it as you can't really go solo. That's a death wish. You can't really do things without your teammates or without letting your teammates know. You have to be strategic about what stratagems you use. I think everybody goes through a turret era. That's okay. Everyone goes through a mortar era. It's all right early on until you get those better stratagems. But you really just have to you really have to coordinate with your teammates, which is why one of the reasons I don't necessarily want to jump in with randoms. I don't want to speak to strangers for the most part, but just making sure that you're keeping that line of communication open when you can is so very important. And then, when we talk about the stratagems, obviously games have had supply drops and secondary weapons and all that. That's not a new thing, but in the heat of the moment when you're in the shit and you're trying to do left, right, up, down. That shit's stressful, man. It really puts you in the experience. And, the music is swelling. You're getting overwhelmed. And, one stratagem, one properly placed stratagem can completely turn your mission around. Or it can completely ruin it. You know what I mean? It can really go either way. And that's such a cool inclusion, even though it is very stressful. But picking up the game loop, it wasn't that difficult, even though it is a difficult game. But like once you get a few under your belt, I mean, you're in it, man. And it's for Super Earth all the way.
Yeah, and fighting for democracy is not easy, as we've learned.
It's not.
It is not. And then there's the memeability underneath it all where, did Super Earth cause all of this? Are we being sent to our deaths for no reason? Did we put the bugs in the robots? Did we create them?
That's not treason, is it, Eric? I hope that's not treason.
No. Well, only like 3 people are going to hear this, and I'm assuming they don't play Helldivers. So for Super Earth, no. But could it be treason? Yes, it could be. It's just those little fun elements of the game that, again, it's not a single-player experience. It's not a story-based experience. So this game can have lighthearted fun, and it can be community-driven in those themes and those discussions. So I just think that element alone makes it so much stronger. Again, it's so community-driven, it's so player-driven that really the sky's the limit with this game. So Phil, unless there's anything specifically you wanted to kind of highlight, the enemy variety, for example, is so vast, so different. We could talk about all of them for hours, right? But unless there's anything specific you'd like to cover present day up to this point, I would absolutely love to transition into that conversation of what is to come. What is the ceiling for this game? Where could it go from here? So I'll throw it to you if you have anything else you kind of wanted to touch on from your gaming experience, but otherwise, we'll kind of look ahead to the future.
I think really the last thing I want to mention is like the internal defeat I felt when we had heard that we had lost Malevolent Creek, right? Like we had been fighting as a community, fighting our asses off in the incredibly difficult space, by the way, like. And then hearing, and it's since then been reopened, and we're trying to fight that good fight again. But like in the moment, it felt like we had all lost. Like we were legitimately in like a war. Like we had failed Super Earth. I've never come across a game that made me feel that way.
We were all just like
right? That's never happened. That's insane. The fact that they make us feel that is crazy. Yeah, I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, great call out. And Phil, it's for that reason that I think this game has a lot of longevity, because we have only scratched the surface of not only enemy type, but planets, scenarios, situations. I mean, man, at some point, Super Earth's going to be in danger, right? So I want to talk to you about the future of this game, knowing what we know right now, what we've heard, and beyond. What do you think this game could potentially achieve, given everything it's achieved so far? What do you expect in the coming year or more?
Yeah, I mean, the way that it's set up, it can, it definitely has set itself up for quite a long run here. Again, because the gameplay loop is so addicting and relatively easy to hop into and teach your friends. It helps that there are, so many different difficulty levels. I think they have an opportunity here to do something really, really special. So again, we've already gotten the mech. That's already brand new. There's the rumor of the flying bugs, although I don't know if anyone has actually seen them outside of those videos. I haven't played in a couple of days. Eric, is that something you have experienced yet or seen?
I have not personally experienced it yet, no.
Okay, because I know you played more recently than I have. So the fact, though, that there's lore out there, what if they just put one in a singular game? Or like a few, they sprinkled in like a few, like a random event like that happens in other games. That would be nuts. And I wouldn't put them again. Like, I wouldn't put it against. I could see them doing that, throwing like things that are like not out in the public yet into a random server and be like, watch this. Watch people lose their shit on social media. So that, if that's happening behind the scenes, I think that's incredible. It's going to come down to a lot with the enemy types, so they are going to have to continue to put out enemy types that are difficult, but also not like cheesy difficult. You know what I mean? Like not difficult just for the sake of being difficult. So finding that balance, and again, they've done a great job so far. I think that's definitely going to be a major key. One thing that I would like to see them figure out is, because when it's just the two of us, like, and a lot of nights it is just you and me, when you get like overwhelmed, I would like to see the balancing be a little bit better. Like, yes, we're on a harder difficulty, but you are a much higher level than I am, and I feel like I even us out a little bit. But I don't want to. It's hard because we are on a harder difficulty, but like I do also want to feel like, yes, we do maybe have some sort of shot, whether that be a new stratagem or a new weapon or what it is, something that will like even the odds, even when it seems like, you know, the odds are stacked against us. So for the people that are playing solo or duos or, you know, whatever it may be, I would like them to introduce something like that, but also you have to balance it. Like, leveling and balancing this game is going to be so important, and they've done a great job so far. So as long as they're able to maintain that, then I think they'll be fine.
Yeah. I will tell you, since we last played, I did buy enough credits to have the next 2 war bonds to start progressing through those. And the reason for that too was like one of them has a booster that will increase time between enemy spawns. That would help. That would help. But I did have to. You can wait till you get enough in-game credits. It is possible, but you could purchase that, right? And work towards those things. So I think the multiple different options are great, but I do agree with you, Phil. There are times where I'll play Helldiver difficulty, and even if I go down to like a 5 or a 6, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Sometimes you just get your shit kicked in and you just gotta fucking deal with it. And it sucks. It absolutely sucks. But then there are also times, like you mentioned earlier, Phil, where you get out of it, you almost, or you do accomplish it, and there's no greater feeling than that. So I do think they need to level some things out. But I think it's a great start so far, even with those issues. Definitely nothing that kind of stops me. Do you see this game, by any chance, passing like a game like a Fortnite eventually? Like with this model, you know, all it took was one game doing a battle royale, peak battle royale, and it took over the world. Do you see that type of ceiling for it? And again, we're very far away from that, but is it possible? Do you think that could be in its future?
Well, what's inevitably going to happen is there's going to be copycats. So that's what happened with, you know, PUBG and Fortnite. And Fortnite knows. They are very aware that the Battle Royale is on its way out. That's why they introduced 3 new game modes, right? That's why they are investing all that, millions, maybe even billions of dollars into Disney. You know what I mean? Like, they want to be Roblox because they know a game like Roblox has had longevity. So what's going to happen is somebody, you know, there's going to be copycats where there's going to be some sort of game, whatever space it may be, that copies what's happening right now as far as like a community-based, community-driven objective. So we're going to see that, and we're going to see it to varying levels of success. Some of them are going to be very good. Some of them are going to be bad. Ubisoft is going to put one out 9 years from now, way too late, or something like that. There's going to be like Far Cry. They're going to do like a Far Cry Helldivers copycat. Like, that's what's going to happen. So that's what's next. And I'm not sure that it will, because of the mainstream appeal of Fortnite, I don't think it will reach that level, but it will have a consistent enough fan base to be able to support a DLC, a Helldivers 3, or whatever, you know, whatever that next step is. One thing I would like to see is, you know, you can like customize your ships a little bit like inside, but it's not really that much because the ship very much reminds me of Mass Effect. And I would like for there to be, you know, customization when it comes to those ships. I think that would be really cool. You know, obviously there's customization when it comes to the armor and stuff like that. But like outside, what's the word that I'm looking for? You know, aesthetically, I would like to see some. You want that
Hogwarts
like that.
Legacy aesthetic. That's what you want.
Okay, well, I don't know.
You want me to be able to change the indoor, put a couple tables down. I get it.
You know, the only thing I ever did in that stupid room was put plants in it. Like, I never did. I didn't decorate my room. Were you decorating your room?
What?
How much time did you play? How many hours did you put into Hogwarts Legacy?
Listen, I was in the room of requirement for a little bit. For me to just drop the game completely once I was done with the story. Yeah, it was unfortunate. But also, space animals. Bring them in, you know, like you could capture a bug, bring it back to the ship. Just saying.
Let me colonize a planet. You know what I mean? Like, give us stuff like that. And maybe that's like a spin-off or something along those lines. But like, let me Let me do that. Well, although farming bugs is probably why we got into this situation. We just repeat the same mistake.
I don't think we're responsible enough to be able to colonize anything.
Let me bring in some of these robots and teach them our ways. I'm sure that won't go poorly. I'm sure it'll be just fine. But and I don't want to see like Marvel skins in the game. I just want to be able to customize the ship and make it my own. So because it is really cool. You see like all of them flying next to each other. I don't want like a contrail or like a for our pods when we're like heading to the planet. We don't need anything like that.
My ship comes into orbit. You didn't know I was gonna join. It's just confetti.
Or like we finish an objective and then we just start grittying and it's just, like, we don't want any of that.
We could chill on those emotes. We don't need that at all. I'm also thinking like there'll be like gliders, so you'll kind of come in with like your hawk.
Oh, that'd be great. We do need the hawk. I do need that. Actually, that's terrible. The one that I need. So there are certain, there are limits to this. You know what I mean? So we don't need that type of thing. So again, because Epic Games has been they're very much getting ahead of this and knowing that Battle Royale is on its way out. And even with us, like we've been playing it much less and focusing on obviously other games than. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's nuts that like our gaming rotation for this year has been a Pokemon clone, my GM mode, which we spend a lot of time just sitting there doing nothing in between, and then Helldivers. This is not a gameplay loop. This is not a simulation I thought I would be part of in 2024. And it's great. 3 months in, and we have we've had 3 games that we have invested quite a bit of time in that we've been able to play together
this year.
That came out this year, which is wild. So, and then whenever it happens, you have your Baldur's Gate journey to dive into. I have dove into the modding community now with both Madden and Jurassic World Evolution 2, and it has breathed. It has brought new life into my gaming. These are games that I've already sunk hundreds of hours into, but now because of what's going on and the ability to take advantage of stuff like that, like we're gaming more than ever in a year that we thought that our gaming was going to go down and we're going to have to like spend time with each other, so like in person, and now we don't have to do that. So
well,
it's great.
We're going to do that for Dune Day. So
tomorrow we're going to spend a whole day tomorrow so.
watching Dune. But hey,
Dune.
Move over, Andrew and Dylan. I think we're ready to just become a gaming podcast now because we're gonna have so much content to crank out. Phil's gonna stream at some point. I feel like the more we say it, the less likely it happens. But he put some stuff together.
Listen, I asked Andrew about it, and he gave me the stuff that I needed. So Jordan and I are trying to figure out what game to play, and oh boy, between all these games and the films that are coming out, I mean, obviously we're seeing Dune. We got Godzilla coming out in a couple of weeks. There's like 6 different TV shows that we're all trying to catch up on. I don't know how we have time for any of this, honestly. And then we're still in the thick of convention season. So, yeah.
Weird life we're living. If you would like to donate $1 million so we can quit our jobs, that'd be fantastic. If just by chance, Jeff Bezos is listening, we will sell our souls. So
100%. Absolutely. Well, this will be sponsored by Amazon. This will all be Amazon stuff back here. Like I don't. Yeah.
Bring it on, Elon. We'll take you too.
Nah, well, hold on.
Come on, Mr. Zuckerberg. We'll do it.
Well, maybe
we'll be Facebook exclusive. Nobody's on there, but we'll be there.
Oh, hell yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. The last thing I want to do is make Facebook my primary social media site. Again, please don't make me do that in 2024. Some of y'all need to get off of Facebook. I'll just say that.
Honestly, I've considered deleting it so many times. If it wasn't for the fact that I just have it, like I just don't want to deal with it.
People don't even give a shit when you post podcast stuff. Like either one of us, no one cares. No. Unless it's something about a kid or a dying animal or something like that, no one gives a shit. So like, why do we even have it? I don't even know. So finished up on a positive note, I do want to go over the ratings, the reception of the game. As we mentioned on Oprah Critic, it does have a 90%. 82% on Metacritic, Game Informer, GameSpot, IGN, all 9 out of 10s. If we were to score this, it'd probably be around there, 4.5s, 9s out of 10s, whatever it may be. Obviously, this game is, you don't need us, even though we've been telling you for the last 45 minutes how great this game is. But, the reception speaks for itself. And if you have not jumped into the game, we obviously, this whole thing has been us recommending it. And, don't let the difficulty spike, push you away. That is adjustable. You can play it the way that you want to play it, even if you do end up playing it solo. Certainly, nothing wrong with that. I think you guys will I think people will just enjoy the gameplay, regardless of how they decide to go about it. So, yeah, I'm really glad that we took the leap, and, thank goodness that people started posting about it on social media and that we came across it, because it has been truly one of the biggest gaming surprises probably since Fortnite. And we started playing that in 2017. This is literally the first game that, as far as a community, we're playing it together. Games have come and gone. There was we played a dodgeball game, we played Splitgate, we played the roller derby game. All these games have come and gone, and every once in a while one has the staying power. And yeah, here we are.
Yeah, I second that 100%. I would just caution you guys, if you are worried about any type of issues with matchmaking, getting into lobbies, I know that's really not Phil's thing. He'd prefer us both get absolutely destroyed than play with two randoms. I gotta tell you, I've had a very positive experience for the most part. Yes, are there times where you get matched with people that don't know what they're doing or they're fucking things up? Yeah, that's what a public lobby is. But I've been shocked how much fun I've had playing with just people. And again, most of the time I'm not even on my mic. I jump on my mic sometimes when the vibe seems right, but I usually play off my mic. I have a good time, win a couple matches, lose a couple sometimes, and it's just a mixed bag. But I definitely would just implore you, if you are interested in playing this game and you're like, well, I don't have anybody to play it with, don't let that stop you. This game is a ton of fun. I think you should jump on it now. You've heard us bring up games like Fortnite a lot, Halo, and other big franchises. That should tell you.
Gears of War. We've got a lot of Gears of War, I think, vibes
elements
too. Mm-hmm.
Any big game that you've thought about, this could be it. And Phil, I think it's really telling that, when we looked at the future, you mentioned Helldivers 3. If this isn't the game that takes it to the next level as far as moving gaming forward, I could only imagine what a Helldivers 3 would look like. So again, jump into it now while you can, while the hype is real and alive.
Watch them revert back to the top down. They just do every other game. They do. And then we're like, I don't want to play that.
We find out it's the biggest fumble in history. Although, again, I don't know how anything, you brought up Battlefront earlier. Don't know how anything beats a $35 price point for a game that came out 20 years ago, for you to have 3 servers open when the game launches. That's crazy to me. Again, Helldivers had server issues, but nobody expected almost 500,000 people to be playing this game. Star Wars Battlefront, when you release that nostalgia bait, people like me want to go play it. And I'm just glad I didn't spend the money in advance. I almost got it in advance, but I was like, let me just see what happens. And thank God I did that.
Well, luckily for you guys, Eric, there is a Battlefront game that you can play online right now. It's called Battlefront 2. And there are servers available, from what I hear.
Not gonna do that. I'd rather stay away from EA content as much as possible.
I know. Yeah, the only reason I've jumped into Madden is because I can fundamentally change the way that the game plays, and now it is bearable. So
yeah,
but
you
folks,
have also a lot of problems. So
that's true.
That's
yes,
also
that is also accurate. Shout out to the modding community for Madden. I just joined that Discord, and there's a lot in there that I don't understand. But folks, again, the moral of this story is play Helldivers, and I think we definitely think you will enjoy it, and it has definitely been worth our time, and we see ourselves sinking many, many more hours into it. But Eric, anything else you want to mention before we wrap up this episode? This is one of our longer game room episodes because, again, there's just so much to talk about, and it's a newer game. We wanted to make sure we covered as much as possible.
No, I think I should just tell you guys how passionate we are about this game. And again, I know we made the same promise on the last episode and we didn't quite do that. We're going to be playing this game a lot this year. Again, I've just been thinking about getting on to play Helldivers the entire runtime of this episode. So I desperately want to get on when I
was
don't
on
get
the fence
to play.
about playing after this, and now I want to play. So that's what's happening.
I'm just saying,
tonight,
give me 10 minutes. I'm on. We're dropping. That's it. But I do want to tell you guys too, because Phil and me, we have people that also get on sometimes that are kind of fickle. Stefan, Boogie, get on consistently.
I literally just told
Answer
Boogie
back.
to uninstall it. So
Yeah. So all that to say, if you're here and you're still listening to us ramble on as we get ready to close the episode, join our Discord and let us know, like, what is your tag? We'd love to, what's your username? We'd love to hit you up. I play it a lot more than Phil right now. So again, I'm always looking for people to play with. If you want to jump on, let me know. And yeah, hopefully I don't get flooded with the thousands of usernames that I'm expecting after that call to action.
Yeah, I'm sure that's definitely going to happen. Anyway, if you do want to find that Discord and all of our other social media, you can actually find it in the Linktree link in the show notes of this episode. You'll also find a link to all the rest of our content, including all Game Room Where It Happens episodes, as well as our other monthly recurring series. The most important ones to follow as far as social media being Instagram, TikTok, and that aforementioned Discord page. If you want to support the show, you can do a couple of things. One, share the content, tag us, let us know, and let other people know that you are listening. It is always very much appreciated. And you can also head on over to Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Leave those 5-star reviews. Why is Eric's petting his microphone? It really threw me off. I wasn't like...
I really can't tell you why.
I was on a roll. No, I was on such a roll.
So listen, I went...
And Eric just starts petting his microphone
listen, I went
like
for
he's
what-
Dr. fucking Evil.
Hold on, I gotta explain. It looked off because again, I think I had severe OCD. So my cord was a little off, so I fixed that. And then I thought this looked odd in the camera, so I went to wipe it, and then I made it worse. So then I went for full.
For those of you that are listening, I very much implore you to go to the video version of this episode and just watch Eric in the midst of my run here, in the midst of me wrapping up the episode, just start petting his cat like Dr. Evil pet his cat in the Austin Powers movies. And it totally ruined. It totally threw everything off.
I gotta start using that stop camera feature. That's my bad. that's my bad, dog.
I can't wait to see which meme video I put in here for Eric to find whenever I edit this episode. Anyway, what was I saying? I don't even know. Head over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave us a 5-star review telling us you like the podcast and or Eric's ASMR whenever he strokes his microphone. But if you want to support the show maybe a little bit extra, Eric will let you know how to do that after he's done giving his microphone a haircut or whatever it is he was doing over there.
Honestly, thinking back, I think the word stroke is appropriate, and that makes me uncomfortable. So I'm just going to tell you guys now, this is the type of before and after scenes content you might expect from us on Patreon, along with early access to our episodes, where patrons like Stefan and Breyer are supporting the show. So whether you go directly to our Buzzsprout page and support us there, or you join our Patreon, we would truly appreciate it. We would really love to grow that platform much longer in 2024, or much better. I don't know. Phil fucked me up with the mini Godzilla there. So I'm going to go ahead and just simply close the episode. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Go play Helldivers 2. And with all that being said, my name is Mr. Eric Almighty. That is my co-host, Phil the Filipino. And please don't forget, we release new episodes for the podcast every Wednesday with bonus content on platforms like TikTok, as long as it's available. And all you got to do is wait for it.
We'll see you out there, soldiers.
So, I heard you're looking for a go-to source for entertainment.
Wait for it.
Gaming?
Wait for it.
Anime?
Plus Ultra!
Mr. Eric Almighty and Phil the Filipino? Yeah, they've got you covered. And all you gotta do is wait for it. This is the Wait For It podcast.